What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. The road to predict all 136 FBS level college football teams this summer takes us to our first stop to Los Angeles, California, where the USC Trojans are in a do or die season to try to save their head coach and salvage a lot of the feelings going on around this fan base. My name is Nate Pope, otherwise known as Tailgate Nate. I want to thank you so much for clicking on this video and helping to support the channel. If you'd like to support the channel even further, then please do what it says right below me. Hit that subscribe button, and while you're at it, you might as well ring the bell, because turning on notifications will ensure that you don't miss an upload during prediction season, and especially not one of your favorite team. I'm a sports media grad delving into the professional world of the industry, so if you want to see all the cool stuff I get to do while still being up to date what goes on this very YouTube channel, please give me a follow on social media at the two logos right down over there. So I got to point more right down over there. It's at TailgateNate29 on Twitter or X, whatever your preference for the platform, and Instagram. You can even email me, tailgatenate29@gmail.com. With that out of the way, I want to thank you all so much for supporting and interacting with me and the channel, however you may be doing so. And now let's move on to talking about the USC Trojans. Again, a high-pressure season for their head coach in Lincoln Riley. Really successful one in year one of Lincoln Riley, and then the past two seasons, including year one as a member of the Big Ten, were subpar relative to expectations. This is a massive season for USC, but they do have all the pieces necessary to be able to take that jump and get towards the top of the Big Ten Conference. How do we do preview predictions here on the channel? Well, I'm glad you asked. First, we are going to take an overview of the roster. The offense is going to be over here to the left. The defense is going to be over here to the right. Sorry, let me make sure I'm in frame. Over here to the right. And at the end of the video, we're going to go through the USC football schedule. I'll give it a game-by-game preview and prediction. And overall, this video will tell you what I think about the USC Trojans in 2025. Before we get started, though, right down below me are some returning production numbers. They are according to ESPN, and they do factor in transfer portal additions up to a certain percentage. Exactly what it sounds like, how much production from last season is returning to this year's team, as well as recruiting and transfer portal ranks for the class of 2025. They are both according to 24/7 Sports. Recruiting and portal classes for USC, both in the top 20 nationally. Let us start by going over the offense here with Luke Huard. Miller Moss is gone out of this program. Now, there was a changing of the guard at the quarterback position last year, but as long as it was Miller Moss at the helm, 2,555 yards, 18 touchdowns, 9 picks, and 64.5% completion percentage. However, the former UNLV Rebel, Jaden Maeva, is now going to be under the quarterback whisper. And he's going to build off of a 4-game stretch last season that was just purely spectacular. Last season as a whole, 1,201 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Nebraska, UCLA, Notre Dame, and the bowl game that USC won against Texas A&M last season, he was just simply sensational. Now, the interception numbers, though, that's where the problem lies in with Jaden Maeva, and it's where he can definitely improve. It even plagued him at his time at USC, where he threw for over 3,000 yards and 17 touchdowns, but threw 10 picks. Jaden Maeva is a guy that definitely can build off of that 4-game stretch, and again, he's with one of the best quarterback developers in the entire country in Lincoln Riley. Baker Mayfield, Heisman winner. Kyler Murray, Heisman winner. Jalen Hurts, Heisman winner. And really good NFL talent now throughout the league. So if Jaden Maeva takes what Lincoln Riley says to heart, which I'd have no reason to believe he doesn't, and he really develops well, Jaden Maeva is also a guy that definitely can get outside of the pocket and scramble on. Now, didn't do it as often as he did at UNLV, or maybe did it as often relative to, how many passes he threw, but 277 yards and 3 touchdowns at UNLV in 2023. Had 4 rushing touchdowns last season in only 20 attempts. So, again, you take all the aspects that Jaden Maeva's got, you put it into a solid package, you improve upon it. Again, I think the quarterback whisperer can have himself another pretty good one here in 2025. Your top 2 backs are no longer in LA. They are going to be losing some real good talented pieces out of that backfield. Woody Marks is now with the Houston Texans, 1,133 yards and 9 touchdowns from a season ago. And then Quentin Joyner has went over and joined a really stacked portal class with the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Not to fret, though, Eli Sanders is going to be transferring into this program. program, as well as Wayman Jordan. So those are two names that do enter through the transfer portal. Wayman Jordan last year at Hutchinson Community College was one of the better community college running backs across the NCAA ranks. And then for Eli Sanders, last year at New Mexico, 1,063 yards and 9 touchdowns. So you got two proven dynamic backs in that backfield. Brian Jackson is also going to be coming back to pair along with those two really solid transfers. Got a feeling this is going to be a pretty good running back room for USC this year. Some top end talent is going to portal out of the wide receiver room. However, your top two wideouts do come back. We will lead by talking about them. So your top two wideouts from last season were Mekhi Lemon, 764 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then Jacoby Lane is back as well, 525 yards and 12 touchdowns. However, again, some real top-end talent that just didn't really live up to the expectation here with USC. Zachariah Branch, the speedster, especially on returners, was the third leading receiver. Kyron Hudson, he's transferring out of the program as well. And then Deuce Robinson, 5 touchdowns on almost 400 yards last season. He's also gone. And all three of those players' ceilings are sky high. I love all three of those guys, and I love wherever they ended up in their respective transfer portal destinations. But again, their top two wideouts return. There are some solid freshmen and some transfers that come in. Prince Strachan, Strahan, however you pronounce the last name, is over from Boise State. 304 yards and a touchdown for the Broncos last season. And then overall, as far as freshmen goes, Corey Sims is in, Tanuk Hines, Romero Eisen, as well as some other cats in there as well. Highest rated wide receiver they brought in was Corey Sims as a 3-star, but he could still see some solid production levels as early as this season. As far as your tight end room, your main tight end duo is going to return for some extra weapons for this passing game. Their names go as follows. Lake McCree, who's a really, really undervalued tight end, or really valued in LA. I think should be talked about a lot more nationally, or I've said it before, maybe I'm just not reading the right websites. And then Walker Lyons will be coming back. True freshman last year, will be a sophomore this season. Lake McCree had 245 yards, 24 catches last season. I have a feeling that production going to increase for the redshirt senior tight end. When you're looking at the offensive line, this is one of the biggest points of contention for this USC team. Last season, it only allowed 15 sacks. Good. You want to keep it that way. A line of scrimmage is a big thing for USC, at least it has been over the past couple seasons, and it got a lot better last year. DJ Winfield and Jayonre Reed are going to transfer in to add experience in what otherwise is going to be a pretty young, yet very talented room. And those two guys are expected to play your left guard and center position respectively, while again, the rest of the offensive line reads as follows. Redshirt sophomore, true junior, redshirt sophomore. The depth, a lot of underclassmen in there, including a freshman in Alex Payne, who is a really highly recruited player. 4-star out of Gainesville, Georgia. That's Gainesville High School in Gainesville, Georgia. Look, Jade Maeva is under the quarterback whisper. And as long as the offensive line can fill in the pieces, continue the way it was last year, Jordan Maeva's got some really dynamic running backs around him. Again, your top two wideouts from a year ago come back, guys. He formed chemistry with really, really quickly. I do have a feeling that Jade Maeva, this USC offense, are going to be fine, but that's never been the question with this USC team. It's always been the defense. Well, DeAnton Lynn came in last year, and it got so much better. It really did. It got so much better. Now, it's a defense that still does have a lot of work to do. When you take a look at some of the overall defensive stats, only 21 sacks last year, that can get better. They did force 18 turnovers last year. Honestly, it kind of feels like they can force more. If you remember back in the 2022 year, I do believe they were forcing turnovers left, right, and center. USC can get back to that. They got the potential and the talent to do so. Let's take a look at some of the units here, starting out as per usual with the D-line. We start the front, we go to the back. The defensive front loses a ton of production across the two deep on this depth chart. However, some notable pieces are going to be coming back. Transfers entering at the nose tackle position, and an overall defensive front that, look, is going to have some questions, but it's got to be able to perform at getting pressure back to the opposing quarterback. Anthony Lucas is going to be one of the bigger names that returns here. You also are going to be returning Cameron Fountain, who did have 2 sacks last season. And again, the two really good returners on the defensive front there. Devin Tompkins on the interior at the nose tackle position. Again, the two transfers that come in, Keyshawn Silver is going to be coming over here from Kentucky, where he had 26 tackles and a sack last season, as well as Jamal Jarrett. He'll be coming over from Georgia, where, again, just got lost in what always is a really talented Georgia defense, especially up on the defensive line. Look at all the players they brought in to the next level. Again, those are some transfers coming in. You also do see a freshman in Jakeem Stewart that's going to be entering here as well from Edna Carr High School in New Orleans in the Big Easy. So, but this is the defensive front that has just got to get better at being able to pressure the opposing quarterbacks. They really do need to improve at that. Your leading tackling linebacking duo will both test pro waters. They are now in the NFL. That is Easton Mascarenas Arnold, who is now with the Cleveland Browns, as well as Mason Cobb, two players that did enter the transfer portal. I should say that came in through the portal for this USC team. Top two tacklers last year, Mascarenas Arnold, one of the sack leaders, tied for the team lead with 3 last season. They are both back. Or I should say both gone. However, a guy who is back and a massive return is Eric Gentry. Really, really big returner here for this team. 33 tackles, 2 sacks last season. Did force a fumble in there as well. Deflected a pass. It could be a world-class talent. In fact, you could even argue is a world-class talent at the linebacking position. Others are going to need to step up around him. Again, your top tight end duo is gone. So Eric Gentry going to be looking to guys like Desmond Stevens and Anthony Beavers and a lot of younger talent to really step up and play some big minutes in the linebacking role with him leading. Only 3 secondary members with 10 plus tacklers to I should say only 3 secondary members, let me just try this again, with 10 plus tackles are going to return to this team this year. There is a ton of production and a ton of really good talent that leaves either to the NFL, through the transfer portal, they graduated, whatever have you. The secondary did get decimated. However, there still are some solid pieces coming back. Kamari Ramsey is a pretty darn solid player. Marcellus Williams is good. And Prophet Brown as that nickelback can be a really good player as a redshirt senior. However, DJ Harvey going to be transferring in from San Jose State, where he picked off 4 passes, had 58 tackles last season. He'll play corner, and then a safety for you in Bishop Fitzgerald is over from NC State. 55 tackles, had 7 tackles for loss, picked off 3 passes last season. So 2 really, really good transfers in the defensive secondary. And of course, kickers and punters are people too. Let's show them some love. They're going to see all new starters courtesy of the transfer portal as well. Offense, I'm not really too worried about, guys. I think Jade Maeva is going to be a really, really good player. They got some really dynamic running backs. Even though you lose some really high-end talent as far as the ceiling goes out of the wide receiver room. Again, your top 2 guys coming back. You do return Lake McCree at the tight end position. Offensive line should be good. I'd more so worry about seeing this defense take another step forward in the right direction. How's the schedule look for the Trojans this year? Well, here is the schedule for the USC Trojans. They are right, or I should say, it is right on over here. But before we dive on into this, some numbers down below me I want to make you aware of. These are odds courtesy of FanDuel, and they just provide some context as to how good the odds makers in Vegas think USC is going to be this year. And no, I'm not telling you to place your money. These lines are, by the way, current. As of recording this video, they are always subject to change. To win the conference at plus 2,500, that's the 5th best mark in the Big Ten. They are only behind, of course, the Big Three of Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon. They are also behind Michigan. And actually, those odds just changed as I'm looking at it right now to plus 2,400. So I'll change that. Like I said, guys, odds current as of recording this video, subject to change. They literally just changed in front of my very eyes. And then plus 8,000 odds to win the national championship. Let me make sure that hasn't changed. No, that has not changed either. Actually, yes, it has. Who would have thought, huh, that both of those odds would change? So now they're at plus 9,500. Way longer odds, but it does show you that there has to be quite a bit that goes right for USC to win the national championship, no matter what number you choose to believe. So when you take a look at the schedule, first off, first 3, maybe even 4 weeks, I think are going to be quite the breeze for USC. Missouri State's one of the newest teams to the FBS ranks. Sorry, Bears. I think you're going to lose this one to USC. Georgia Southern does have some interesting pieces, and Clay Helton is a pretty solid head coach, has had some good success with that Eagles program. I do believe USC a lot more talented, though. Clay Helton facing his former team, maybe there's some motivation there. And then on the road at Purdue, To quote a famous Bob Knight quote, it's Purdue. USC is going to win this game. Purdue, there's so much that has to happen for that program to build back up. Barry Odom really has his work cut out for him, former UNLV head coach. Purdue will go down to the USC Trojans. I also do think USC will beat Michigan State, but I do think this one will be a little bit more of a fight because I do really like what Jonathan Smith is doing at Michigan State. You have another year of Aiden Childs, and I think he's going to take a step forward in the right direction this season. Got some really good portal pieces coming in through the wide receiver room to pair with a true sophomore in Nick Marsh that I think has a very, very high ceiling. Some really good running back pieces will transfer in as well. Defensively, a ton of experiences coming back. And I think Michigan State is going to take a small step forward this year. They could take a little bit of a larger step forward than I'm thinking. I think that potential is there for the Spartans this year. I do think Michigan State's a player in the postseason bowl games at the end of the year, but I do not think they are as talented as USC. I think they need a little bit to be able to get there. I do think that Michigan State loses that game. USC starts out 4-0 on the season, but then you really start to delve into the meat of the schedule. To me, you have at least 3, if not 4 weeks, and maybe some Trojan fans' minds that think, oh, there's no way we're losing to Michigan State. Fine, go ahead. I'm just telling you, I think Michigan State can be a pretty solid team this year. This is a schedule that is very backloaded. Now, there are the moments in the back half, I should say back 2/3 of the schedule where, yeah, USC should cruise to wins. But I mean, this 4-game stretch in the middle of the season right here, woohoo, baby, is it very important. And the pressure for Lincoln Riley doesn't get bigger than this one against the Illinois Fighting Illini. Let's compare the two programs for a second. USC, historic, treasured national championships. They have Heisman winners. They have NFL draft picks. Illinois has kind of been up and down. They've had some really good seasons. Overall, it's a solid program, but nothing to the history of what USC is overall. I'm gonna tell you right now, I think Illinois is a better team than USC this season. I don't think they're more talented, but I think they're better built. I think they're a really dangerous matchup for this USC team and an Illinois team, guys, that I just like a ton. Luke Altmaier coming back at quarterback. They have a really good running back room. Wide receiver room should be good enough for Luke Altmaier to get by, but it's this Illinois defense, man. I think this is an Illini defense that is absolutely loaded from top to bottom. I think they got great players at every single level of this defense. And I think Illinois is a true team you got to watch out for college football playoff conversation. I really do truly believe that. And I think this is going to be a game where USC slips. And I do think Illinois, with that defense, I think they're going to be able to get a lot of sacks this year. I think they're going to force a fair amount of turnovers. I think they're going to be very, very aggressive. And I just don't think that's a good recipe for this USC team. Again, USC could prove to have the more top-end talent. That's completely fine. I think Illinois is going to prove to be the better team in this one, and I do think they win that one in Champaign on Saturday, September 27th in Week 5. You do get a bye week, though, after that, and then you get to play the Michigan Wolverines. Now, this is a Michigan team that's also going to be very interesting to watch in 2025. Bryce Underwood coming in at the quarterback position, and after the quarterback debacle and to some people, the quarterback travesty that Michigan had last season, it should get a whole lot better this year if Bryce Underwood hits, which there's not a lot of doubt in my mind that he will. And then you just go ahead and take a look at the rest of the talent surrounding Michigan. Wide receiver room should get better. Justice Haynes transferring in is a really, really good piece. I like what Michigan has got, right? I really, really do. And Michigan also feels like they have a ton of NFL level experience guys on the defensive side of the ball. They can very well take it to USC, be able to slow them down. I think USC gets this one. Again, the pressure for Lincoln Riley has never been higher with this program. You fall short against the Illinois Fighting Illini. Expectation around LA and with this program is you better win this game or stuff can start to go downhill really, really fast because you got Notre Dame coming up next week. Maybe Michigan can catch USC looking ahead at home, but I think Michigan takes the first half of the season really breaking in Bryce Underwood, being able to figure out everything new. And again, who knows what happens with sanctions and Sharon Moore, but putting all of that to the side, Michigan's going to be a solid team this year. And I think this could end up being a defensive brawl because USC's defense has improved. However, I think the USC offense a little bit more built, and I think the offense is more well coached than what you see out of Michigan. So I do think USC wins that game. And then I do think they split this upcoming road trip. I think you can guess who the win and losses to, so we'll go pretty quickly through it. Notre Dame's going to be one of the better teams in the country this season. Absolutely. Jeremiah Love is back. He's one of the best in the business out of the running back position. The young wide receiver room returns Greathouse. It returns Faison. It gets Malachi Fields, a stud over from Virginia. A lot of good talent on defense. It'll still be a stifling Marcus Freeman-esque defense, and it's Freeman's opportunity to really develop a quarterback. He's gotten a lot of portal quarterbacks. This is his first year to develop in CJ Carr. I think he's going to be great, and I think by this point in the season, he's in full gear. Notre Dame wins this one against USC, and then comes Nebraska. Year 3 under Matt Rule. Look at Temple. They were playing and I think won a conference championship. They were playing for a conference championship in year 3 at Baylor. Yeah, it didn't work out in the NFL. That's fine. Some guys just don't work out that way. This is year 3 at Nebraska. Expect Nebraska to be a really good team this season. Dylan Raiola is going to take another step in his development. It is Emmett Johnson's backfield now, and I felt like he was the most talented running back across everybody that Nebraska ran out of that backfield last season. Defense is going to, though, have some major things to try to fix. And in sense recording this video, and if I think I even vaguely hinted towards it, but Nebraska is going to be they're going to try to be more aggressive this season. And I think that's going to cost them against teams with some pretty good offenses in USC. That's exactly what I think happens here. USC gets a lot of big plays, some big touchdowns, and they beat Nebraska. I also do think they beat Northwestern, and that Northwestern one just needs no explanation. Hey, Preston Stone is there. Yay. I just don't think Northwestern's going to be that good of a college football team this season. Iowa, I do think can be pretty solid, though. And for the Iowa Hawkeyes, friends, Mark Gronowski coming in at quarterback, much like Michigan, that quarterback situation at Iowa is about to get so much better. But the running game is not going to be as good as it was last year because LaShawn Williams is gone and Caleb Johnson is gone. I don't really know about their piece in the wide receiver room. The defense is still going to be good, but I just don't think the offense is built to fully utilize what Mark Gronowski wants to do at the quarterback position, and it's why I think USC is going to come in and win this game. I think their offense can do enough against Iowa's still going to be stellar defense, but USC wins that one against the Iowa Hawkeyes. On the road in Eugene, against the Oregon Ducks. Oregon is going to be without Evan Stewart for the majority, if not all, of this season. Patellar tendon is never a fun injury, and it's very scary depending on the severity. But this Oregon team is still loaded, man. Dante Moore is going to be a really good quarterback for him. Besides Evan Stewart, they got a plethora of other options that are going to be really good for this program. Defense continued to stack up through the transfer portal, especially on the defensive front. Even with all they lost, they're still going to be really good. They're going to be one of the better teams in the Big Ten yet again this season. And I do think that USC loses to Oregon, but I do think USC beats their in-town rival in UCLA. This is a UCLA team that I don't think it's a question of how good Nico Iamaleava is going to be, because I think Nico can be pretty darn good. It's a question of the talent around him. And much like the situation at Iowa, I don't think that UCLA's offense is built to fully utilize what Nico can do. And the only difference with Iowa is they have a pretty solid defense. UCLA's got a lot of question marks on the defensive side of the ball. Iowa's more apt to beat USC than UCLA is, but I do think USC splits both of them, and that rounds out with a total of 9-3. Now, to be perfectly honest with you, I do think 8-4 is a little bit of a more realistic record. You could split the Nebraska and Michigan games, but I still truly believe that 9-3 can happen. I wouldn't have predicted it if otherwise. I think 9-3 is absolutely capable here, and boy, what a huge season this would be. If they can go 9-3, I think they got a lot of really good talent. I think the schedule is pretty manageable for them. I think they win some pretty close games. I think USC's got a solid season, saves Lincoln Riley's job, and they push forward to 2026. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Remember to play hard but tailgate harder. See all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.